perhaps we just start by, if both of you introduce yourselves, that'd be the easiest thing to do, and perhaps even set the context around the blockchain world and what you've been doing in the last couple of years and how this has come about around the Blockchain Council.
Okay.
Tariq? So just to let you know, in the PAX, one of Tariq's colleagues,
Sergey. Yeah.
Sergey couldn't make it, so Tariq's his replacement. That's why it's Tariq and not Sergey. Sorry.
So, okay, so Sergey, the introduction. My name is Tariq. I'm the co-founder of Umbra Lab with my co-founder Sergey, who wasn't able to make it today. So we're a Bitcoin and blockchain company. So what we do is we build blockchain applications to try to bridge the gap between the traditional financial system and what is happening with the innovation around blockchain, because it's kind of like the buzzword around the banking and financial industry at the moment. So we're trying to bridge that gap and try to introduce everybody to try to explore how can they be part of the blockchain through their like payment processing or settlement or agreements, signatures, anything like that within the banking system and financial system, and how we can actually build software to try to bridge that and get them to explore how can they be part of it, because blockchain is still a very new thing. Most people around the world are still shooting in the dark. It's one of those things that still will require quite a lot of work, and we're trying to help that process to actually take effect by educating, consulting, and actually building software for that with the banks.
Hi everyone, my name is Doudin. I'm co-founder of Bitoasis. We're the first actually Bitcoin exchange and wallet platform based in Dubai and focused on the Middle East and North Africa. We've recently raised a round of financing as well from investors in Dubai and based in the US. Part of our business is also focused on B2B sort of blockchain applications, building blockchain applications as well. It's an opportunity that we're seeing also emerging in Dubai as other parts of the world, and specifically financial services. We're also one of the founding members of the Dubai Global Blockchain Council. It's an initiative that was funded or sponsored by the Prime Minister Office and Dubai Future Foundation. And you can definitely see sort of the momentum, the market awareness around blockchain and Bitcoin technology and what could it mean for the future of transactions, banking and non-banking. And we're kind of in the middle of that. So it's definitely an exciting time for us to be in Dubai.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So before we start, one of the questions I always like to ask is, how many have you heard about blockchain specifically? Put your hands up if you've heard about blockchain. Okay, not bad, not bad. How many of you know what it is, or claim to know what it means and how to use it? Okay, right. Okay, a lot fewer hands. How many of you are technologists? And how many of you from the business side? Okay, even mix. So the other of you are from either. So okay, interesting to see where you're from. So I guess one of the things would be interesting to do, just to give a basic basics to people who don't understand what it is, what blockchain is. So it's always a challenge. Before we came on stage, Ola and I were saying, well, who's going to give the definition of blockchain? And one of the challenges is nobody really has a single definition. There are emerging definitions. So I'm not going to give a definition because I'm the chair in the panel. I would love to, but I'd love to get your views on what you think blockchain technology is, and as a starting point. Tariq, go ahead.
Yeah. So. The best way to explain it is like, think about internet during the 1990s, 93 particularly, when email came out. There was, everybody was still trying to explore what is email, and then people had various software that didn't really have standards around it, where they couldn't really talk to each other. And then all of a sudden the email platform was invented, and people actually started sending emails to each other with a standardized platform. So the same thing happened with voice over IP. So think of voice over IP as a platform where anybody can plug in their software to talk to each other, but it's more like an asset over IP. So blockchain offers an asset over IP platform where you're able to actually trade, transact, and move value around the internet on a standardized platform that doesn't have to do very much with like a lot of people think the blockchain and Bitcoin ecosystem is pretty crazy, but compare that to the reality that we're living today. The banking system, I think, is way more crazy than blockchain and Bitcoin, because if I want to do any transaction in any bank at the moment, it's like if I have to check which bank are you with? Which bank is somebody else with? Is it going to be able to talk? Am I going to have to wait a few days for that transaction to go through? Then we start talking about checking and paperwork and all that sort of stuff. So with blockchain, or like email, I don't even have to check, are you with Yahoo, are you with Hotmail, are you with Gmail? I just need your email address and I can send you any message that I want. Think of blockchain as that for finance, for asset movement and signatures and agreements and overall. So it's a standardized platform that allows you to do any of the financial transactions with you today and beyond, but in a standardized way.
Ola, go ahead. Your turn.
Yeah. One thing I'm noticing in the space is that even in the Bitcoin and blockchain space itself, different people view blockchain and define it in different ways. It's kind of like asking people now, what is the internet? Some people tell you it's an information superhighway, and then some others tell you it's a communication platform or a set of protocols that allow you to communicate online. And some others say it's like a content creation or sort of like a content crowd creation platform where you can access content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So different definitions of how people think of the internet today. And some people think the internet is Facebook as well. At the same time, when you ask people, look, what do you think of blockchain? A lot of people see it from the angle of like, what does actually blockchain do or what value it actually creates for certain industries. I would say it's sort of the most standardized way to define what blockchain is. Just like the internet redefined the way we communicate online and how we exchange data, the blockchain will, as a protocol, will change the way how we exchange assets and we exchange value. Traditionally, whenever you had to exchange value, and value I mean it could be property, it could be gold, it could be money, anything that we put value to. And traditionally, whenever two parties wanted to exchange value or ownership of value, they always need a third party. They either need a bank, a law firm, some accounting firm to actually say you own this and you own that. And then once you do the transaction, that third party keeps a ledger of who owns what and then who exchanged at what time, etc. So the third party is there to keep record and to keep trust between those two parties to make sure that this transaction occurred. Now, those peer-to-peer transactions weren't before the blockchain for people able to do, because we always needed that third party to provide trust for two different parties that don't know each other. And the blockchain as a protocol is the protocol that would come and sort of eliminate that third party, where it creates trust between different parties that don't know each other to allow peer-to-peer transactions, money, different assets, property, land, etc., where they can transact directly without needing a central, or let's say a third party or a law firm or a bank to make sure that they're keeping record of the asset ownership and who's exchanging what. And the way the blockchain actually achieves that is by having the network actually has distributed ledgers that keep record of those transactions. And that's where sort of where the complicated part actually comes in. But that's how the blockchain actually ensures record keeping of the assets by keeping sort of records of thousands of those across nodes.
So therein lies the problem, right? Both of you talk for 5 minutes around what blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. I think this is one of the challenges,
distributed ledger
right?
technologies.
One of the challenges is
we could talk for days, really.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and I'm the same, right? We could talk about
But
it.
the role of the blockchain is to eliminate third parties that provided trust for other parties to transact and just allow peer-to-peer transactions around
So let's
value.
try and simplify it, right? Trust.
Transparency.
Trust, transparency, and control.
And efficiency.
So one of the biggest problems around current transactions, you have a trusted third party who mediates between a transaction. The blockchain and distributed ledger technology the names are interchangeable, probably, right? But the idea is you don't have a trusted third party in the middle that enables you to trust a trusted transaction. You have a distributed trust, and everybody has the same copy of the ledger, and they can transact on that ledger. And there's a lot more conversation to have around that. So, fantastic. So this is one of the challenges. The fact that there isn't a clear definition of the technology is one of the biggest problems. So I'd like to ask you guys, given that I'm from London and where the maturity of blockchain is, I'd love to understand from you what you're seeing in the community here around the key use cases people are looking at and perceiving that this kind of technology can help them.
It started off like, I would say, 2 to 3 years ago, where it was simply just an idea we heard about online, and we just became like passionate about this idea. Let's explore it more, and obviously this was all about Bitcoin rather than blockchain. So we started working in the sphere. I met my co-founder Sergey. We started this company, but then overall, like with time passing, we started meeting more people. We met Ola, and they founded Bitoasis, and we founded Umbralab. And we started working in this ecosystem. Now, within this region, there hasn't been that much momentum when it comes to building blockchain solutions. So we've built Pico, which is a mobile phone recharge platform. We're offering the service in 140 markets. We launched the world's biggest ATM, Bitcoin ATM launch, 400 that were launched in Dubai 2 years ago. And we're doing quite a lot with the blockchain sphere in itself. And of course, the peak or the Everest of what happened about this entire ecosystem was when both of us one day got a call to go and join a few technical advisors that work in His Highness Sheikh Mohammed's office, to talk about what can we do to maybe embrace this technology and try to see how we can innovate further towards the Dubai smart city. And this was like the point where we were like, wow, this is actually happening. This, somebody is paying attention, and specifically in this city where everybody around the world is talking and trying to build this stuff around it, but we weren't expecting that, to be honest. Cool. And now that it's happening, so there's a lot more innovation happening around it in more companies.
You guys obviously know each other reasonably well, so it's a bit of a disadvantage for me because I've just met them.
May I just say also congratulations to Bitoasis. Congratulations, they got some investment recently, the first in the market.
So was there some clear business definition or some clear, look, this blockchain thinking is out there and hey, we need to do it? I mean, was there some clear business driver that they were looking at, or was it, where did the conversation go in terms of key use cases that this could help?
I can't speak on behalf of the council, but we're one of the members, so I can sort of mention to you what's been happening there. So I think Tarek mentioned to you sort of how the early days of the Bitcoin and blockchain ecosystem and the startups in the space. When the council started, the whole aim was provide an umbrella or a platform where potentially private sector players, corporates, banks, etc., startups, regulators, and government can explore this technology from different angles. So use cases is one, and that's where we're focused on building proof of concepts by different.
What use cases? What proof concepts? What use case? Can you tell us what use cases you're focusing
on?
A couple.
Yeah, we've been in, as Bitoasis, we've been involved in one project with DMCC, Dubai Multi Commodities Center, Free Zone. To digitize company licensing process by issuing and placing records on the blockchain, where you have sort of like let's say call it like a free zone blockchain, where different also players can be part of that and then tap into companies' licensing, KYC material. Let's say a bank now wants to open a bank account for one of the companies, rather than the companies bringing their papers, go into the bank and say, here's my stamped paper, my notarized document. They can have access to that blockchain to verify those documents, the hash of the documents, etc. That's one of the proof of concept. And one thing to be clear about, those are proof of concepts, not commercial.
Sure.
Yes,
but,
exactly.
But I think the key thing for me to understand, so one of the things that's happening everywhere, including in London and the US and Europe, is that there's lots of startups out in the UK are focusing on the tech. Hey, we can do sexy stuff with Ethereum.
Right.
But really not understanding the business problem. And we see it all the time. So one of the things that I always like to ask is where's the clear business driver?
That's one, which is, and that touches on sort of IDs as well, right? Because you're talking about company registration, potentially could be rolled out to different other applications.
And what benefits did you look at the benefits case around the POC when you discussed it?
Yeah, which is mostly it has been the first driver I think for them was actually to begin with streamline the process, digitize it for the customer. But that's not the only benefit, because you could do that with other applications as well. But the other thing was, great, so we've got all those records, but if you look at the customer experience of someone setting up a company in UAE, it doesn't actually just stop at the free zone. Then the next day they're going to go open a bank account, and they're going to do the whole process all over again, where they need to bring their papers, stamp it, etc. And then they're going to go open sign up for internet at Do, for example.
Sounds like
and
a bank.
And then they do the process all over again. So the whole idea was like, rather, you can actually make the process much easier for the customer if you've got sort of like one repository or like one database, let's say, one like global free zone database that everyone can tap into and then exchange records and provide sort of a much easier way for those companies to register and set up in UAE. So that's sort of like the business case. But blockchain would provide probably the platform to allow that use case to come to life.
So I don't know if there's somebody with a microphone somewhere. Annabelle's there. Yeah, there you go. If anybody has any questions, I'd love to get them from the audience. There's a question over here. Please give your name and your company. It'd be really good. We don't have a lot of time, so if you have questions, please put your hand up. There's another question at the back.
Hi.
Go ahead.
My name is Khalid Ibrahim, UAE Central Bank. I have two questions. One is, what about privacy issues and data breach? That's very important. Another thing, other than the examples you mentioned, do you see it for using blockchain in bigger scale, like between brokers, countries purchasing cement or something like that? Do you see it going that far? Thank you.
Yeah.
Interestingly, actually, the question around user privacy was asked by someone yesterday on the Keynote blockchain event. There was another blockchain event that took place yesterday. And I think that question was raised for some of the free zones that are doing proof of concept, and some of the free zones have specific sort of user privacy laws, and some others, to some extent, not so much. And so you've got the public ledger, where you've got a hash or a representation of the transaction actually put on the blockchain, but not so much the sort of user data. And then you've got other blockchain applications which are like private or permissioned blockchain applications that just certain players can have access to those informations or transparency into those transactions, which allow a more controlled environment for user privacy. But if you're talking about the public blockchain, then the way how transactions are processed and how they're advertised, or like how you see them on the transaction, is the hash of the transactions rather than the actual data or documents. I think the applications where you've got more user information perhaps tied to certain transactions are either done in a semi-permissioned way or in a permissioned way, or more like sidechain applications to the public blockchain. But the privacy question is definitely something that's been surfacing with a lot of those discussions, and I think it's not just a technical question or technical challenge, but also regulator and like potentially legal issues that should be looked into.
No, I mean, I was going to say...
I'm actually surprised about the question. Mostly the question is about anonymity rather than privacy, because the thing about blockchain is most of the data is actually completely private. You only see, like Ola was saying, a hash of all those transactions. You just see a hash and an amount. You don't know who that belongs to, what it's for. You just see an amount and a hash, and that's how it works. So
I would qualify that though. Yeah. You know, you were talking about permissioned and permissionless ledgers.
Yeah.
And I think the privacy piece is around permissioned ledgers. Permissionless ledgers are mainly Bitcoin blockchain. The thing around privacy that I'd be interested to chat about is on a permissioned basis where only a group of people can come into the ledger. What do you see as a very simple, one sentence around how privacy can be maintained because parties want to be anonymous? If you're talking about trading, in the markets, party A, counterparty A doesn't want to give away their trading with another counterparty to anybody else in the market.
So innovation around blockchain is simply an opt-in type of innovation, just like any other. So we could set up a new system where we allow you to trade, for example, gold. And if that happens, it's an opt-in thing. You can opt in to try to trade using that platform or not. And then we would have our own privacy or anonymity type policy for those kind of transactions, and how that is actually open within the public or the open network versus how it is privately within the network. These are all parts of the rules that we would have to build around this blockchain that we would build for all our users. It really depends on the application itself. It is something that's going to be completely customized for that use.
Perhaps we can generalize the question around compliance and governance. So one of the things for me which we're focusing on in London is around, actually a lot of this stuff is around compliance and governance. Okay. The Q&A. Right. Cool. Thank you.
Cool.